Hey all, and welcome back to Fuzzy Dutch of Gaming, and a new video on the channel, running some test maps to see exactly why people are up in arms on Reddit about loot drops. There's a lot of upvoted threads where people are saying, I've ran 50 maps and only dropped a handful of translucent alks, so I wanted to give a deep dive into exactly what the ground loot looks like at the moment. Now, it's not personally been my experience. I have noticed a drop in loot in terms of what you get, but then in the last two leagues, we've had lots of mechanics that juice up your maps, and we don't have that in King's March. So what we're going to do is set up a strategy to test the drops. So I've set up a few rules for the Atlas tree and the strategy, which I'll go through quickly. Number one is no chisels at all to add quality. Number two, we're Alken going only, re-rolling the maps only if the mods brick the character. 3, we're going to use no scarabs whatsoever. 4, no Kirak mod on the map device. 5, only running T16, so no T17s allowed. 6, make it accessible so you don't need a god tier character to complete it. Number 7, no mechanics that slow down the maps. What this allows you to do is turn over the maps really quickly so you can get enough gold to keep a fully upgraded King's March operational, and it gives you plenty of gold to sell the loot on the exchange. And then finally, number 8, we are going to sell everything that is possible on the exchange. There are some things like uniques, forbidden tomes, blueprints, etc. that will have to be sold on the trade site. Everything else we're going to sell on the exchange. The test is going to be 50 maps, where the cost of the map is just going to be the map itself and then some scours and alks to roll the map. Now, I've assumed a map cost of 5C with 1C to roll the map. So you're talking 6 chaos investment per map, which puts the total test at 300 chaos, which is around 2 divines. In theory, it shouldn't really be any cost at all because you should be over-sustaining your map, so the actual cost is going to be really minimal. So we'll quickly go over the Atlas tree. The only lead mechanic that I'm taking is shrines, mainly because it makes the maps much easier. They put monsters in the map. You also get covetous shrines that every now and again when you pick them up, you'll get more loot drop. Other than that, there's not any other lead mechanics in there. I've wanted to keep it as simple as possible so that I can test out the base drops from just a normal tree. You can drop shrines if you like and add in this top hat here to get all the extra modifiers. Then you can start taking these nodes here. I've deliberately left these out because I want to make the strategy as accessible as possible to people. If you've got a very strong character, I'd recommend obviously taking all of these extra nodes because they'll increase the quantity and rarity, they'll increase the monsters, so you're going to get more T17s drop, you're going to get more scarabs drop, and just more stuff in general. But just this version will work absolutely fine if you're someone who is just struggling with some strategies because they're too difficult and others they don't bring in enough currency. We are taking nearly every single scarab node on the tree, and then we're also increasing the drops for ambush, harbinger, domination, and then over here we're going essences, and up here cartography because they are more valuable than a lot of the other scarabs. Definitely take this one here because it means that less common scarabs drop more often. It's very difficult to test what this does, but I would think it's better to take it than not. This one you don't really have to take because its final map boss has a 25% chance to drop a scarab. So if we run a map, which we do with 3 bosses, it doesn't apply to each boss. It's just the last one that you kill. But if you've got a point, you may as well take it. It's a free scarab every 4 bosses, essentially. Then we're also taking map nodes because T17s are very valuable. We want to drop as many as possible. So we're taking shape in the world, shape in the mountains, and shape in the skies. If you don't have as many Atlas points as me, I would just either drop some of the 3% scarab nodes, or you can drop these small map nodes here, or we are blocking some scarabs because they're not worth a lot. So I block delirium scarabs, I block ritual scarabs, I block expedition, and I block abyss. But these are things you want to keep an eye on regularly because sometimes some OP strat comes out that uses abyss scarabs and suddenly they're really, really expensive. But when I checked and made this strategy, they weren't really even worth picking up. So we're blocking them to try and get more scarabs to drop of other types. And that's kind of it. We're taking all of the quantity and then all of the quant and rarity to get more drops. The last part of the tree is just Seer and Exile altars. You can take Eater Worlds if you want, but we're more taking the altars for the drops that the monsters provide. Obviously, with Eater Worlds, you're basically relying on a Divine Altar, which is very rare. Here, you're going to get Chaos Orbs, Orbs of Unmaking, Gem Cutters. The red currency is starting to be worth money again. It's definitely worth taking. And that's the Atlas tree. It's very, very simple. No mechanics to do other than click shrines. We're going to pick City Square as our map, and we're going to also favorite Toxic Sewer. So you're going to run City Squares where you can, and then Toxic Sewer when you run out. They're both very, very easy layouts. Certainly City Square, the boss is in the middle, so you can go and kill him straight away, which means all your altars that you get are going to be minion altars. And as I mentioned, no scarabs, no Kirat mod, so it's just a case of Al can go and stick the map in. You will also drop tons of gold. You'll get between 6,000 to 12,000 gold a map. They're super, super quick to run. Over 50 maps, you'll amass an absolute ton of gold, which then means you can do your trading and you can keep King's March running. The reason I'm low is because I've recorded this footage over a few days and it's all I've been doing. And obviously my town is then draining my resources. So I've had to put a lot of gold into my town and hire some new workers. But you will have ample gold to do whatever you want with. We'll go and run the last map together. I've done 49 maps. I'm just about to run the 50th. This strategy is designed basically to get scarabs, maps, and currency. So you're going to have lots of different types of scarabs drop, lots of different types of currency, some T17 maps. So it might take you a little while to sell the stuff on the exchange, depending how often you want to sell. You might decide you want to do 150 maps before you sell anything. Then obviously it'll be a bit easier to sell because you have more bulk of everything. But it is very simple and straightforward trading on the exchange. And if you are a new player who hasn't used this, this is kind of a good way to get used to it because you're going to be making lots of small trades. The other thing I like about the strategy is it's very safe. You can set the difficulty because there's no external mechanics. It's shrines, out can go, that's it. You can pick the difficulty. If you roll a map and it's got 2 lots of fizzes extra, you can just re-roll it to something that's a bit safer. I'm level 98, so obviously my XP gain is quite slow, but I'm still gaining XP and I'll definitely hit 99 doing this. And if I felt like I wanted to do this for weeks, I'd easily hit 100. So we'll go through it and we'll do the last map and then we'll run through the loot. So again, you can kind of go to the boss whenever you want because I know he's going to be dead center. So when I get this layout, I tend to just go down this little path just to the left. So we'll just go and pick up this Orb of Regret. So we'll go down here. We'll go and take the bosses down. And then I'll just literally go back to where I've been and then carry on my loop. And then there's never any other monsters in the middle other than the boss. So you can just basically just loop around. And then pick up all the loot that drops. And then when altars come, they'll all now be minion altars. Because my character's quite strong, I'm just click any of them. But obviously, if your character isn't amazing, double check them because there can be some pretty nasty mods around. And then obviously look for your lead mechanic as well because that's going to give you gold. So we've got a Legion Scab and then we've got this garbage thing here. I could have actually took Scorch there because I'm element immune. I should have checked those altars a bit closer. We've now got a speed shrine, so this should make the rest of the map very quick and trivial. Another scarab there. So not a lot to write home about this map, but you will get maps where you don't get a lot, and you'll get other maps where you might get, you know, a chaos shrine, you might get some big scarabs drop. So we'll just go and clear the rest of these monsters, and then we'll go and just do the league mechanic, and then we'll look at all the loot. So this again, nothing great. I think I've hidden individual chisels on my filter. We've got Harbinger Scarab. So I've had a few scarabs drop this map. Nothing to write home about. Pretty much cleared the map. There's a few monsters left. So we're just going to go and do this Barisium. And then we'll go out and we'll look at the loot. So I don't charge these all the way because the bosses are a bit of a pain. But that's fine. That's that Barisium encounter done. And then, yeah, we can go through our portal and exit the map. So, yeah, nice and quick when you get lucky and get a speed shrine. I prefer the covetous shrines because they give you more loot. But let's just go and put these last items in. And then we'll go over the loot. Now, I'm going to count everything because even maps have value this league because you can send them to your map runners. So this is going to be an overview of if you sold everything, this is what you're going to get. Now, there are a few things that don't get picked up by Wealthy Exile. One of them is Forbidden Tomes. So I actually sold those for Chaos and then put the Chaos into the stash tab. We had 2 drop. I sold them for 45C each. So we've put an extra 90 Chaos into the stash tab. So this is the loot breakdown. We're looking at 13 divines from our 50 maps. And then, like we said, the cost is about 2 divines. So you're looking at 11 divines profit for 50 maps. 3.3 divines is maps, but then 2 of them are T17. And then the rest are going to be either Toxic Sewer for the most part or City Square, which are good layouts to run or sell in bulk. And maps do have value this league because people want to be setting their map runners going. If people are using 3 sets of map runners. That's quite a lot of maps it burns through. If they're not sustaining their mapping strategy, they're going to be buying maps to send to their map runners. So if we just get a very, very rough calculation. Now, obviously, you're not going to sell all of this stuff, but I want to be transparent and let this is what the loot is worth. So if we say our profit is 11 divines because the maps cost 2, I think divines are still 150. So you're talking 1,650 chaos divided by 50 maps is 33 chaos a map, which I think is pretty good considering it doesn't cost anything to do. You can always put scarabs in to boost monsters to get more T17 to more scarabs. You can obviously chisel your maps, which I would 100% recommend. I just wanted to get a bare minimum of what the loot would look like. And to me, 13 divines in 50 maps doesn't look like no loot to me. I think people just got so used to the last 2 leagues where you could juice it up with the league mechanic that it does make loot look bad. It probably has been nerfed a little bit, but you could still make currency doing whatever you like. You also need to factor in that King's March easily earns you 2 to 4 divines passive income if you're sending your ships out and you've got your map runners going. So that adds even more profit. So let's say this took 2 hours to run 50 maps, which it shouldn't the way these maps are run. But if it does, then that would give you about 5.5 divines an hour, but you're probably going to get 2 to 3 from King's March, which pushes it up to sort of 7 or 8 divines for basically no investment at all. So loot may be slightly less, but we are compensated if you interact with all the league stuff. So let's go and use the exchange. Same as my last video, I'm just going to go through a few examples and actually go through how you should decide what to sell and maybe what to keep until you've got more bulk. But if you wanted to, you could sit there and sell every single item that you've dropped for the most part. As I said, things like tomes, if you pick up blueprints and you want to sell them, you need to sell them on the trade site, but the majority of the stuff we're going to be able to sell here. The only other thing you'll need to sell on the trade site are your invitations for the Searing Exile because they're not in the currency exchange. First thing I recommend you do is use Wealthy Exile. This is just a website where you link your PoE account. It then reads from your stash tab. So all you would do is set up a profile. So you go edit tabs and then you basically click the tabs that you're interested in recording. You go to stash, you click refresh, and then it will give you all your items and what they're worth. It doesn't capture absolutely everything, but for the most part, it will give you a value of what your stash is. The reason this is really useful is because it helps you identify the high value items that you picked up. Like we can see we've picked up 3.5 divines, probably more than that of scarabs, but where do you start? And that's the best place to start is you go to scarabs and then it will list it in order of value. So we can see that scarab in the multitude, according to this Wealthy Exile, is 10C. So we can sell 5 of them for 50C. So all you would go is you would go into your dump tab where you've put everything, or your fragment tab if they happen to be in there. And then you just search multitude. We can see we've got 5 of them. If you want to, you can use PoE Awaken Trade if it was up to date to check what the scarabs are worth. But then you'll just go into the currency exchange, hold control, left click the item, and then it'll put it in. Then we just put chaos and it will give you the ratio. So if we wanted to sell instantly, we can get 12.7 chaos for these scarabs. If you hold alt, it will give you what people are actually offering, which looks like 13s are flying off the shelf and so are 15. So I'm actually going to set these at 15C because it seems like they're going to sell. So if we do 5 scarabs for 75, cost 1,800 gold, which is why I said you'll have hundreds of thousands of gold to make your trades. And then we'll just place the order. I'm comfortable that's going to sell within a few minutes because there are hardly any better value trades than the one we just put up. So then you can just go back into your Wealthy Exile. Say, right, what's the next one? 5 ambush scarabs, again, about 10C each. We've already had our trade come through. So you just go ambush. We can see we've got 5 ambush scarabs here. We have potency. I don't know if they're worth anything, but we'll find out from Wealthy Exile. So we'll go in. Our first trade has been completed. So we can go and take all that loot. Control left click the ambush scarab in. We've got 5 of those. And we can see the market ratio is 11 if we wanted to, or 12 if we wanted to sell straight away. And people are wanting to sell for 13, but there's only 2. So it looks like 15 is probably the right amount for these. But to get them sold so we can carry on, I'm going to price them at 14 each, which I'm hoping I can do maths. I can. So we're going to price these at 70 chaos for 5 ambush scarabs. We'll go ahead. And again, even though it's way off what people are looking for, I'm confident these are going to sell really quickly. And they've sold already. So again, I'm just going to put all this in my dump tab because then we can actually work out how that loot is converting into chaos, because it looks like we're getting back a lot more than what Wealthy Exile says we should get. So those ambush scarabs are sold. So that's already a decent amount of currency that we've had so far. So then again, we'll just go back into Wealthy Exile and we'll check the next one, and it's Cartography Scarab of Corruption. So again, we'll just go into our stash tab. Cartography Scarab of, nope, that's not it. There we go. So again, we're just going to use the market to tell us what it's worth. So again, control left click, reckons 20 we could get straight away. If we hold Alt, it looks like 21 to 22. So 20 is probably okay for this. So we'll just say we've got 3 of those, 60 just to get it sold quickly. And if it ends up selling for more, you'll get a little bit back. So it turns out there was only 2 trades for that amount. So we're going to have to sell that individual one again. But we got 20.5 for it. So if we then take this back, we've got 1. And let's say again, we just want 20C for it. And then we got our 20C for that. Scarab, job done. Again, just go to your stash. Dump that chaos in. And then you can just keep going down the list like that and selling it. It does use a lot of gold selling stuff in chaos, but you'll have an absolute ton of it from the farming strategy. So we'll just go and have a look at one more. So Harbingers, it looks like are about 5C each. So let's firstly check our gold situation. Got plenty. So let's go and check the Harbinger Scarabs, if I could spell. Which of these here? So we've got 6 of those. And let's just check these on the market. Again, control left click. If you've got chaos in here, you can control shift left click and it will put it in here if you haven't already. So 6.3 is the market ratio. So way above again what Wealthy Exile says. And it actually looks like if we wanted a quick sale, we could sell these for 7 or even 7.5. So if we put 6 scarabs in and we want to sell for 7.5, then this should go through fairly comfortably because it's going to be the best price in that section. So we can see people have just dumped a few scarabs in, but nothing major. So these should still sell fairly quickly. Things like maps you are going to have to sell on trade, but for the most part, I would just keep these and feed them to your map runners. That's going to be your best bang for your buck rather than trying to sell maps individually. But I would think if you went onto TFT, for example, there's probably lots of people that will just buy all red maps for XC per map because they don't care what they are. They're going to out them, corrupt them, and stick them into their map runners. So you could definitely sell maps in bulk if you wanted to, especially with things like Toxic Sewer, where we've got a ton of them. You could sell those fairly easily. For small uniques, again, you're going to have to go and sell those on trade if you want to, or you could just stick them in your stash. It's up to you. We haven't really got any uniques worth more than 5C, other than I think we had a map drop from the Endless Seer, Twilight Temple, which I think is about 20C. So 19, 18C. So I'm just going to price this up while we're here for 18 just to get rid of it. And then we can add that to the collection as well. And you do the same with the uniques. You just put them up for sale for the cheapest on the market as long as you know it's not been price fixed, just to get rid of it, make the sale, and then that's that completed. So we've still got well over 10k gold. So let's go and have a look back in our stash. But you would go through the scarabs as we have done here in Wealthy Exile. And maybe you get to a point and say, right, now they're worth 1C each. I'm not sure I want to bother trading all of these off. So I'm just going to wait until I've got more or stick them in my stash and forget they exist. Because, you know, if you don't do these last few, it's 20 to 30C. It's not going to make a massive amount of difference. So let's just go back in and just see what else we've got that sells on the exchange. So let's see what currency we've got that we can sell. Obviously, don't want to go selling my divines because we want to keep those. But things like exalts we've had drop, you can sell those. If we just look at Val Orbs, let's do those as an example. We've got 24. So let's go and sell these 2 things again, exactly the same way. Currency exchange, there we go, our scarab sold. Oh, that's missing loot from the stash as well. So again, just control, left click, go and take the chaos. So it's 11.510 if we want to just sell instantly, but it looks like 14 is the going rate. But just to get it sold, just going to do 13 for 1, and that should sell really quickly. And then we're going to look at our Val Orbs. These are, looks like 2 for 1, but you're competing with a lot. So if you could set it at something like 2.1, then you're going to be fine. So if we do 24 and 11, it's 2.18. Then again, they should sell really quickly. So we'll take our currency for our exalt. But you can, you know, do what you want with your currency. This is more to show what you can earn. If you wanted your Val Orbs for, you know, corrupting maps, you'd obviously keep them. So we'll just see what sort of embers we got. See if we can sell some of these. So it's mostly lessers, which aren't going to be worth a lot, but we can go and have a look because I certainly have no use for them. We have 23 lesser embers. So that's the Vile Orb sold. So again, we'll have a look at these. And they're actually pretty valuable at 2.5 each. People are wishing they could get 12 for a Chaos. So if 2.5 looks like it sells, I'm just going to price them for something like 2.6. So if we've got 23 and we want to sell something like, let's say we want 8C for them just to get rid of them. That looks a bit cheap actually. So that'll be 2.56. So let's just price them at that. Again, pretty sure they're going to sell. And then just so the video doesn't go on forever, we'll just go and see what other embers we've got. We have 6 grand and we have 6 greater. So let's go and price these up as well. We've got plenty of gold still. So grand embers are 6.5 chaos each. So we've got 6. So if we price them at 38, that's going to be 6.33. They should sell no problem. And then we'll just do the greater embers, which are not as expensive as I thought. I think 1's a bit cheap for those. I would think 1.5 will be fine for these, even if they sell a bit later with those. So 6 and 9, 1.5, place order. So we sold our Lesters for 9 pretty quickly, and then the others will definitely sell as well. So that's all you're going to do. Convert all your loot into Chaos, then Chaos into Divines, and that's very simple to do as well. So we'll just go into the exchange. We'll just do one for an example. So I have Chaos Orbs, and I want a Divine Orb. I only want 1. So the market ratio for buying is 162. Looks like people are selling for 160. So let's say 161 meets the middle ground. These might be better off selling on trade. You're probably going to make a better ratio selling them on the actual trade site, but I just prefer to do it this way. So let's say I want to sell 161 Chaos and I want 1 Divine. We'll just place the order. And then again, we'll wait for that to go through. And you'll just keep having these pop up. But what you can do, because you can do 10 trades at a time, set 10 up, go and do a map, come back, do another 10. It's up to you how you want to do it. You can either do your trades, after each map very quickly, or just wait until you've done 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, whatever you want to do. Come back and make your trades. So that's kind of it for the video. As you can see here, we've sold our Twilight Temple. So we'll get this out of the stash and get that gone as well. And then we'll just go and collect the last few loots from our exchange. And then we'll pop it all into Wealthy Exile. And we'll again have a look what that's looking like. So these go in here. Hopefully he's finished all the trades. We're just waiting on these greatest to sell, which is like, 9C. So I'm not too bothered about waiting for those. But we had our grand sold and we got our divine for the chaos. But yeah, that's kind of what you want to do. It takes no time at all to sell all your stuff on the exchange. The longer you leave it, the easier it is, because you'll have higher value items and bigger bulk of lower value items. I've just spent around 20 minutes just selling the rest of the stuff on the exchange that's worth selling. And then we've sold like the synthesis maps on trade along with the T17 maps. And then we've sold the Seer and Exarch invitations on trade as well. We've then changed any chaos that we had into divines. So as you can see, we've still got lots of stuff left, but it's stuff of very little value other than the maps. So you can either use the maps for your map runners, you can sell them bulk on TFT, or you could just use it to self-sustain. Like we dropped an absolute ton of maps. You're going to have enough to sustain your 50 maps. So you could just say, instead of counting these as profit, you can just say that your mapping strategy costs basically scours and outs, which means anything that drops is profit, and just totally forget about all of the maps. So we can see here, we've got at least 10 raw divines and then smatterings of other stuff as well. So if we go and take a look here, we've got our 10 raw divines. If we take out the maps, obviously your guardian maps you could sell if you really wanted to. Then it gets down to everything else, and there's not much else of value. This essence would probably go for 10C. And then you keep going. We've got some, chisels for a little bit of currency. I probably need to add them back onto the filter if they're 0.7C. And this is the stuff I've basically decided either isn't going to sell or can't be bothered to sell because there's just too little value of it. So if you did say that you were just going to use the maps for self-sustain, that does give you at least a raw divines profit of 10. So if we then say in chaos, it's about 156. You're talking 1,560 chaos. If we divide that by the 50 maps, talking well over 30 chaos profit per map on a super easy strategy that's also going to get you a ton of gold. Is it the most lucrative strategy in the world? No, not by a long shot, but it's very easy to set up. It's very easy to do. And if you are someone that is genuinely like, I can't get more than 1 to 2 divines per hour when I'm mapping, no matter what I do, this video just kind of shows you how to do it. It's all about getting the loot, selling it quickly on the exchange, and then changing your chaos into divines. A link to the Atlas tree will be in the video description, along with the POB for the build I'm running. I wouldn't recommend following it. I've kind of just winged it. It does perform really well, but it's pretty expensive. I'm sure there's a ton of cheaper builds that do the same thing. Hope this video has helped people out. Thank you very much for watching. Take care and see you in the next one.